woke up while nature was sound asleep, so I could marvel at its kingdom. I strolled through its lush gardens and saw every little wonder up close. Here, you can dance with giants, discover a feast for the eyes, and a feast for the appetite. Walls that hold heroes' stories told me of their bravery, while sacred places blessed my journey. I roamed places that stood the test of time, and others that were there since the beginning.
Every day, I wake up to a feast. Where I can sink my teeth into history. Or shock my taste buds with something new. It's here I learned the color of sweetness, expanded my pantry, and my appetite. Every next bite only leaves you hungry for more.
Just woke up from the time of my life. It started with a major throwback. Then I got to meet the big shots. I found a sweet spot between cultures and hung out with the artsy crowd. I even picked up a few things along the way. After that, things kicked into overdrive. It started with a whirlwind through the streets, and unforgettable eats, a celebration of flavor in every bite, and an epic view party at every turn. The best thing about it here, the good times are never over.
You're now boarding GPSTV. Ako po si Aya Fernandez, your online travel buddy. Join me again as we navigate through your favorite destinations, making sure, of course, to #GoSafe, GoTravel. A huge part of why the Philippines is so beautiful. Siyempre, mag-agree kayo dito kasi we're blessed with rich nature, di ba? Mayabang tayo dyan, tayong mga Pinoy, di ba? Mapa-aerial man yan, terrestrial, o aquatic man yan. Diba? Puno-puno tayo niyan. Kaya sobrang dami rin natin ng diverse tourist destinations sa ating bansa. And hindi ka mauubusan ng pupuntahan. Diba? This year, the Philippines has won 4 prestigious titles in the 27th World Travel Awards. Diba? Although sabi nila bonus na lamang yung awards, but alam mo yun, plus points yan kapag nare-recognize tayo. Now, the Philippines is recognized as Asia's leading dive destination and Asia's leading beach destination. Kaya naman, the more na kailangan nating pangalagaan ang ating kalikasan. Sana mas ma-motivate tayong mas alagaan pa yung kung anong meron tayo. Parte rin ng kalikasan ay yung mga wildlife na naninirahan dito. Even if the tourism industry hasn't fully opened yet, of course, kailangan natin to i-discuss the importance of wildlife conservation, how we can practice ethical and sustainable ecotourism, di ba? Sabi nga nila, para tayo nasa reset button ngayon. So ngayon, didiscuss natin kung ano nga ba yung, paano yung pag-reset natin. And here on GPSTV, we want to emphasize the importance of sustained intervention to pursue responsible, sustainable, and culturally sensitive tourism activities sa buong bansa natin. And because in the end, it will be for the benefit of you, me, at lahat ng mga Pilipino. Diba? Agree ba kayo dyan? Yes! So if yes, share nyo itong live natin ngayon, live stream natin ngayon, at marami tayong matututunan. Protecting our ecosystem and the animals is as important as their future is our future. Diba? Paano nga ba yung nangyari? Diba? Buhay naman nila yun. Pero guys, huwag kayong mag-alala. I-discuss natin yan dito. And let me now introduce our online nature buddies for today. Exciting! Now, for our first guest, he is part of the National Youth Council at Wildlife Fund Philippines. He is also an international award-winning photographer, conservationalist, mountaineer, and emerging storyteller. No other than Mr. Gab Mejia.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks so much.
Mabuhay. We'll hear much from you today at sana ma-flash ulit sa mga screens ang inyong mga photos later. Ang gaganda nun, guys. Okay, game. Our second guest, she is the current executive director for ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, where she leads the center in facilitating regional cooperation and coordination on biodiversity conservation for it to be sustainably managed and used and equitably shared for the well-being of people. She is no other than Dr. Teresa Mundita Lim.
Hi, Aya, and hello, my fellow panelists and all viewers out there.
Magandang hapon po, Dr. Teresa.
Yeah, good afternoon.
And now our third guest. She's a nature awareness and she's from the Nature Awareness and Conservation Club Incorporated. The organization promotes responsible tourism to give supplementary jobs in the rural area that will give them more power to care and nurture their culture, community, and environment. Here, an empowered woman, Miss Violeta C. Imperial.
Hi, Aya. Hello to fellow panelists and hello to everybody, the viewers. Just call me Violet.
Ay, okay. Sure, Miss Violet. Thank you so much. Mabuhay po sa inyong lahat. But before we proceed, hello sa ating viewers sa Facebook, sa YouTube. And before we proceed to our discussion today, I want to invite our audiences to hashtag Go Safe, Go Travel with our designer PPEs and masks by joining our hashtag Go Safe, Go Win. Yeah, meron tayong mga pa-premyo dito sa GPSTV, di ba? Guess the word of the day. Make sure to stay tuned to our show today from start to finish kasi we will be giving you 3 clues all throughout the program, which we are going to flash on the screen or malay nyo ma-mention pa all throughout ng aming discussion. Hindi to scientific term, huwag kayong mag-alala. Mahuhulaan nyo to, guys. And what you have to do is to comment down below your answers sa comment section. Just kahit na di pa tapos yung program, kung alam nyo na yung sagot, comment nyo na yun agad. And then don't forget na isama yung hashtag na hashtag Go Safe, Go Travel. and hashtag go safe, go win. Yeah, the more comments, the more chances of winning. We'll make the announcement tonight at 9 p.m. And again, go safe, go win. Guess the word of the day. Our first clue ay makikita nyo na sa baba ng screen. Tignan nyo na yan, guys. Yan. Tapos, mamaya bibigay tayo ng hints sa conversation as well. Alright! Tune in to GPSTV on Facebook and YouTube to learn more about tips for worry-free travel experience and unique journeys to good. At ngayon, mas magiging immersed tayo sa ating inang kalikasan. Let's start the conversation with gusto ko kayong tanungin muna. Gawin nating exciting para sa mga guests, di ba? Imagine nila, what are the popular ecotourism spots in the Philippines? Yeah. And or how do we know who are the certified and responsible tourism guides? Mga ganon. Sige, anyone can start. If meron kayong alam na popular ecotourism spots in the Philippines.
I can start.
Yes, Miss Violet.
I can highly recommend Biak na Bato National Park. They have an excellent caving training. And their community, it's originally formed by Miriam College. Their tour guides are like poachers, hunters, illegal loggers. And they were converted by Miriam College Environment Science Institute as tour guide, cave guide, community guides, to change na yung livelihood nila. To protect the environment instead of killing it. So, alternative livelihood na sila. So, right now, Nature Awareness and Conservation Club is doing a massive upland tree planting as corporate social responsibility. And we also have opportunity to do outreach program to the local communities. And farming, we are highly patronizing their farm produce then sa kanila, organic farming. So, they have cave guides, caving, organic farming, tree planting, forest protection program. There.
Kapag bumisita po doon, pwedeng bumili ng produce nila?
Yeah, fruits and vegetables. Do not buy. Some kasi will sell you rocks from the mountains. Don't buy that. Just the fruits and vegetables.
Siyempre. Yes. But how do we know ba if who are the certified and responsible guides or operation managers who can take us on these ecotourism adventures? Kasi may na-mention kayong mga cave guides.
Cave guides.
Paano po malalaman?
They are very organized. They have the organization. I forget. Anyway, it's Biak na Bato National Park Cave Guides. National Park Guide. So, the contact person is Angelita de Guzman, the president of the community tourism, ecotourism operation there. Ayun. Just contact her or just go to the national park. Very organized sila. They're very informed na on what to do, what to prepare, ano yung level, na physical level na kaya nyo. And all the people who goes there are responsible. They're really listening to the guide. They're not
makulit. Orientation then. No?
Yes,
how about the rest? Do you know any ecotourism spots that you've been to or you know of?
I'll probably start with the ASEAN Heritage Park. Some ASEAN Heritage Parks in the Philippines. Tubatahari is one of them.
Yes.
We also have Mount Apo. Is another ASEAN Heritage Park. So, Mount Hamigitan is another one.
Saan po yung Mount Hamigitan?
Sa Davao. Okay. And it boasts of natural fernery, so and also a pygmy forest. Tubataha is very well known. It has still intact coral reefs and fisheries is very, very rich. Of course, Mount Apo also has a pygmy forest. Mount Makiling is another ASEAN Heritage Park, which is very accessible.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there's a rafflesia that's grows in Mount Makiling, and of course, there's a natural mud spring that's also found there. Unique flora is also found in that area. Um, there are other ASEAN heritage parks, but there may be some challenges in reaching them. But when everything opens up, like Agusan Marsh is also an
Yes.
ASEAN Heritage Park. It's a unique wetland area in the Philippines. There are unique vegetation in that area. There's also a peatland in Agusan Marsh. It's a unique ecosystem, and I think these are very good natural attractions, and also there's some community buy-in in protecting the resources in those ecotourism, in those ASEAN heritage parks, and it's important that the communities are also supported during this time.
Kasi the communities are the one living in that area, therefore they are the
Yeah.
first
Yes,
caretakers.
beneficiaries. Yes, they are the first. They should be actively participating in the
Yeah. You mentioned Mount Apo na naalala ko tuloy yung isa ko sa mga favorite ko sa bucket list ko, Doc Teresa, is yung Apo Reef. How about you, Sir Gab?
Ako rin
Yeah.
in Mindoro.
Yeah. How about you, Sir Gab?
Yeah.
What are your favorite
Actually, na-mention na ni Dr. Teresa yung lahat ng magaganda talaga. But near Manila, I think there's also a lot of ecotourism sites that you can go to, like Masungi Geo Reserve,
Yes.
so which was awarded by UN as well as it's a nice park in Rizal, and it's just really close by, like an hour to 2 hours away from Manila, and you get to experience the amazing limestone karst ecosystem there. And you have also great wildlife. When we went there, we were able to see hornbills, static ticks, macaques, Philippine macaques jumping on the canopies. Then there were also kingfishers, the small birds that you can see, the colorful birds there. And it's a nice experience because they also involve the indigenous community, the Dumagat tribe in that area. And they give them livelihoods by becoming as tour guides and supporting in protecting the whole park. They have many challenges right now during the pandemic, but being able to support their whole initiative, hopefully to become accredited as a UNESCO geopark in the future. And also, if there's one I would recommend, is in Mount Iglit Bako, to see. It's a place in Occidental Mindoro.
Saglit
And
Bako?
Mount
Sorry.
Iglit Bako.
Iglit
Iglit
Bako.
Bako. Yeah, it's where the Tamarao population of the Tamarao is. So that's one of our critically endangered land mammals found only in the Philippines. And it's really great because they also involve the Mangyan, the Tao Buyid tribe to become as park rangers, as Tamarao rangers. And you get to hike this amazing wild grass landscapes and see the Tamarao from vantage points.
Pag sinabi mong Tamarao Rangers, they're the one who's taking care of the Tamarao, or they're the one hunting the...
No, they're the ones protecting.
Okay.
Poachers are the ones that are hunting. The Tamarao poachers are the ones that are hunting. So they're the ones that patrol the whole natural park.
Alright. So they're like mountain rangers, pero Tamarao
Yeah.
rangers. Thank you.
Dedicated for the Tamarao.
Tamaras. Now you've mentioned endangered species. Now I'm going to ask you guys, what are the endangered species that are sadly endangered, but I'm happy that are endemic to the Philippines that we should give extra care for. And correct me if I'm wrong, when we say endemic, kindly explain na lang din to our viewers. Siguro let's start Miss Violet.
Okay. Endangered right now.
That are
Mga
endemic.
sharks. Oh, our local sharks are being hunted and eaten by the local community. But that's cultural. But sometimes the taklobo, the big clams are gathered in, or harvest in Visayas area to show off the tourists, which hindi dapat kasi a no touch zone ang marine life tourism dapat. No touch and then no take. Kaya unfortunately, may mga untrained boat guides and beach guides na they will get the taklobo and show it to the tourists and they will eat it, or they will just spear fish, some big fish, some endangered big fish, which is they're not aware na endangered na siya and still show off to the tourists, which is still a no-no.
So maganda ba pong siguro i-encourage yung viewers na kapag kayo ay nakakita ng mga, let's say, taklobo o kaya let's say mga triton shell, ganyan, huwag nyo na lang bilhin, no, Miss Violet? Kasi mas merong tumatangkilik, mas ginagawa. Kasi minsan hindi natin nga naman masisisi kung hindi nila alam na bawal palang kunin o kaya hulihin. So ngayon, bilang turista or bilang travelers, wag na lang natin tangkilikin.
Yes, tama and also, tama, bawasan yung gawing souvenirs yung mga seashells. Ayun, na sana DOT or the tourism industry will stop making souvenirs out of the marine lives, or putting the sands in the bottles or eating the parrot fishes because may impact siya sa ecosystem. Nangyayari yung ganong impact because sometimes the tourism industry are not really aware na bawal pala, endangered pala, ganon, which I wish magkaroon ng awareness.
Thank you, Miss Violet. How about you, Sir Gavin, Dr. Teresa? What are the endangered species that are endemic to the Philippines that we should give extra care for, that you would like to share to our viewers?
Yeah, I think one personal thing I saw in Bohol was the over-tourism in especially the Philippine tarsier. Sadly, how they're being exploited, where they would just grab them in the tree out of their natural place and put them for people to view, or sometimes they would even make them as illegal pets. So I think that's one trouble talaga, especially with the Philippine wildlife that we have, is the illegal wildlife trade. There's so much more unique species, endemic species like the Philippine pangolin in Palawan who are being exploited because it's a real complicated issue, but I hope it can really be addressed by tourism and as well as the agencies involved like DNR, so that we can protect these animals that's only found in our country. Because you have like amazing foundations and industries like Philippine Eagle Foundation who has established this kind of tourism where instead of detrimental effects to the wildlife like the Philippine eagle, they actually care and try to repopulate the population. So I think that's a case that a successful case that we can look to, and hopefully we can apply in other places with these endemic native
or
wildlife.
Other species na pwede nating gawin yun. Yeah, and sana mabigyan pa ng more support since na-mention mo yun. How about you, Dr. Teresa?
Well, when we talk about endemic species, we're talking about species that are found in the Philippines and nowhere else in the world. When we talk about threatened species, those species that may disappear in 10 to 100 years' time if we do not do something about it. And the Philippines is one of the mega biodiverse countries in the world. That means we have a high number of species that are found only in the Philippines and nowhere else. And some examples of that are, has been mentioned by Gab, no? Philippine eagle is an endemic species. It's found everywhere in the Philippines except in Palawan. We have the tamarao, which is only found in Mindoro. Tarsier is actually found not just in Bohol, but it can also be found in Samar, in Mount Malindang. And they're saying that we have different species types of tarsier. So it's not just the one that we see in
maliit.
Bohol. In Bohol. May mas malaki pa doon, may iba-ibang itsura. And that's And then also baboy damo, no? Wild pigs. There are wild pigs that are endemic to the Philippines, and we should be conscious of that. That it doesn't mean when that this baboy, if dami naman baboy damo eh. There's one in Tawi-Tawi, there's also here in Luzon, but the ones that you see in Mindanao are not the same as the ones you see in Luzon. So we should be aware of the uniqueness of the species, not just in the Philippines, but per island. There are unique species per island. Uh, uh, Scaly anteater, pangolin was mentioned by Gab. It's only found, the species that we have is only found in Palawan. There's also yung tinatawag nila na pantot, yung stink badger, which is only found in Palawan.
Ibon ba po yung
badger? Stink
badger.
Badger, yeah. It's a unique species. We have cloud rats, which is only found in different species. It's amazing, and these are just animals. I haven't mentioned the plants.
Yung flora, yeah.
Or flecha, and the flower behind me. Medenilia terraceae.
Oh.
Painting of.
Saan po yan nahahanap?
Meron yan sa Mount Hamig. It was first discovered in Mount Hamigitan. But
Where?
It's in
Mount Hamigitan.
Yes, and then in some island in Mindanao as well. So it's a unique Medenilia species. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Kinikilig ako kasi when it just recalls me going to Palawan and seeing some of the things that you mentioned at hindi ko yung makakalimutan. Kaya sana na-flash sa screen yung mga photos. But, umpisa pa lang yan, guys. Now, itatanong natin, Sir Gab, can you tell us more about your projects and how ecotourism has been beneficial to biodiversity conservation in the region and vice versa?
I think one of the bigger projects that we worked on was in the Agusan Marsh, the ASEAN Heritage Park. So actually, Dr. Teresa was an advisor as well on that project. So, and she helped me a lot in being able to really implement the project. But it was more on a storytelling and conservation storytelling driven project. So really promoting as well as raising awareness on the issues of the Agusan Marshland Wildlife Sanctuary. And it's a tough place because not a lot of people are aware about it. When I started posting photos, people were asking saan yan, saan matatagpuan, and hindi nila alam. And that's kind of sad because it's it's a ASEAN Heritage Park and people don't really care, or not people are really not aware about the wetlands that we have, the amount of biodiversity like migratory birds, for example, especially this time of the year where migratory birds coming from Japan, coming from the north, all the flies down to this flyway. And I hope that ecotourism could help actually also in promoting the whole place, because it gives them a sense of pride. The local communities would have this sense of pride that, oh, this is ours, this is a beautiful place, and that we need to take care of them. And sadly, when I was visiting around some of the municipalities around Agusan, even the kids don't know about it. Parang they just saw the Agusan Marsh and the photos that we were sharing and the videos that we were sharing. And it's a tough challenge to be able to bring the local communities together. But it's good work that a lot of people are working hand in hand together from different municipalities to...
When was the project?
It just happened actually last year. We were actually there this year also in February for World Wetlands Day. So we did the project with different organizations, for Wave for Waters, with For the Future, to bring in people and to bring in supplies and help the community, the local indigenous tribe, which is the Manobo, who's also living in the lakes, in the 59 lakes in Agusan Marsh.
And the project, as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, was to create you were there as storytellers, like through photographs, and then you reach out to the communities and make them more aware of the Agusan Marsh. Is that True. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's really more an educational project also, and collaborative, bringing different partners, hopefully to protect the Agusan Marsh. Now we have like Smart working on them, working on it
Okay.
for the peatlands. So it's a really amazing time, and we really need it because because of also considering the effects of climate change and the importance of marshes.
Meron bang pangalan yung project? Was it the first time it was done?
Yeah, it's basically Agusan Marsh uncovering Asia's forgotten wetland jewel in today's changing climate and society. Yeah.
And then for our curious viewers, including myself, where can we check that out? The outcome or the updates of the project? Any website or social media
Actually,
account?
it's out in National Geographic. So because of the pandemic, we were supposed to distribute all these magazines, all these prints to all the schools around the municipality.
Ayan.
So I have the boxes here now, but there's also a digital copy online. So I can send the link maybe later. I don't know how for them to see, or they can
Okay,
search it as well. Nat Geo, the Agusan Marshlands. Yeah.
Is it for free or?
Yeah, it's available for free online also.
Wow, thank you so much to you and your team, your team. And now, Dr. Risa, with the ACB being the Secretariat of the ASEAN Heritage Parks Program, can you tell us more about the ASEAN Heritage Parks and how ecotourism has been beneficial to biodiversity conservation in the region and vice versa?
Well, the ASEAN Heritage Parks are the outstanding protected areas in the region. We call them cream of the crop protected areas in the ASEAN. And at the moment, there's around 49 ASEAN Heritage Parks all over the 10 countries. And I did mention some of the ASEAN Heritage Parks that can be found here in the Philippines. We of course it's kind of a brand, when it's branded as an ASEAN Heritage Parks, the countries are able to promote the protected areas, the natural parks through the ASEAN Heritage Parks brand. We also provide support. We're providing capacity building. We have capacity building programs for rangers, like as Gab mentioned, the Tamarao Rangers, yeah, in Iglitbaco, and some equipment that they need for enforcement. We also are able to provide them through with our partners. ACB and its partners are able to provide this support as long as you're an ASEAN Heritage Park. And then we also have exchange programs. So we invite, there are, there are cross visits across the ASEAN Heritage Parks just to learn from each other. Some of them, face the same challenges, and others are addressing them and they're addressing it in different ways. And it's good to be able to provide that venue for them to discuss this and learn from each other and see what they can apply from the learnings. So these are some of the initiatives that we do to support our ASEAN Heritage Parks, and it's good publicity for protected areas in the region.
Dr. Teresa, thank you for sharing us the brief overview. If you mentioned about the capacity building training, is it like you go there for a period of time, or is it like a continuous monitoring project or initiative?
Well, usually we invite different park rangers or park managers, and then we conduct the training in one protected area, for example. So we invite them over there, and then there's a training program that they can do on site. So there are monitoring systems that we introduce on site. So it's
So you
yeah.
teach the local rangers on how to do the
Well, they
monitoring
actually teach
themselves.
each other. They teach
Okay.
each other, but we facilitate
Yeah.
for them to get together, and then we invite experts and field implementors, who have actual experience, and they're able to share some of their methods, some of their
Mhm.
strategies on how they should be able to manage the park well.
When was the most recent? Can you remember if
Well,
yung
it's just
recent
before
training? Yeah,
it's before
before
yes,
this.
yes. Yeah. So actually, we were supposed to roll out some training programs in Mount Iglit Baco as well. But in the meantime, we're trying to facilitate just capacity building on site based on the needs of each park. But in the past, we had those opportunities. Some would go to Singapore, for example, just to look at their wetland there. So yeah, it would.
Galing.
Of course, we were thinking of continuing this. When everything, when there's a better normal.
Thank you, Dr. Teresa. Hindi ko rin alam na may ganun pala, no? Now, Miss Violet, base po sa inyong karanasan, what can you suggest to the LGUs and other stakeholders para ma-improve yung ecotourism practices natin dito?
Number one, awareness. What is ecotourism about? What is sustainable tourism about? What is the importance of protecting your biodiversity, ecosystem, the environment? The LGU have to invite also everybody, all the stakeholders, and those stakeholders consultation about what's happening with or in developing or monitoring their ecotourism site. They also have to partner. This is the most important part. Partner with science-based people, expert like DNR, NGO. Unlike us, where we're partnered with CSL, Zoological Society of London, or the Wetland Philippines regarding mangrove tree planting. So I hope the LGU will consider everybody as part of the community in developing ecotourism sites there.
Thank you, Miss Violet. How about you, Gab? What are you think, what are the needed drafting guidelines for wildlife interaction in the country, or other suggestions to the LGUs and other stakeholders to improve our ecotourism?
Awareness really brings in a lot of efforts for the communities, for the ecotourism sites. And, I really like what Ma'am Violet said about really inviting science researchers, inviting experts on the field in the implementation of project. I think that's really, really important, because nowadays we overlook these things, and we don't realize the negative impacts. For example, planting non-native species of trees on certain sites, or planting of non-native mangroves in certain sites. So it's really an important thing that we have to consider, especially now, in how we can develop for a better normal for ecotourism. Because without all these research, without all these science and mentors, how can we really progress, right?
So would you agree, for every project, it should start with consulting with the researchers, experts in the local community?
Yeah, I think that should be the norm. If it's not the norm, then we're in trouble.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Dr. Teresa, what can you suggest to our LGUs and stakeholders to improve ecotourism practices?
The one that was already mentioned is, of course, to appreciate our native species, to appreciate the benefits that can be provided by the ecotourism site. before the pandemic, there was already an increasing growth of revenue from tourism. You know, the growth of tourism was like 4 to 6 times before the pandemic, and you know, like from timber, it's only 1% growth, but for tourism, it was really, especially for the ASEAN, you know, there was a increased growth from ecotourism activities. And you know, if that is if the LGUs are aware of the greater benefits of the, you know, protecting what they have so that it can bring in more revenue for the communities, for the local government, that's also you know, that should, you know, it's going to be able to support some of their you know, some of their initiatives in at the local level. It's, I think that buy-in is very important, and there has to be guidelines as well that needs to be adopted to make sure that they promote responsible tourism as well. They need to, science is also important. You know, they need to recognize that there's a, you know, there's a capacity, there's a limit to the capacity of certain areas in receiving tourists. So you know, we need to go beyond the indicator of, you know, if there are more tourists, there's more revenue. It doesn't have to be that way. There are already tourism products that are low impact, high yield. So these are, especially for nature tourism, this is something that we need to promote. We need to find out what is the carrying capacity of a certain tourism site so that we can limit the visitors and we can schedule them, and the experience will be much better. And you know, you don't have one-time tourists. These tourists will, you know, keep on coming back because they had an unforgettable experience in that area, and this is something that the LGUs must be able to recognize.
Thank you, Dr. Teresa. See guys, sabi ko sa inyo, nabanggit to at na-emphasize several times, baka nabibigin na kayo sa salitang carrying capacity. Sa ating first few episodes pa lang na nabanggit natin yon para sa focus ng turismo lamang. Pero this time, we incorporated ecotourism and see how much it benefits not only us with the current situation with the pandemic, but as well as with nature, with taking care of our natural resources. Yes, Miss Violet, you have anything to add?
Can I add? I would suggest the tourism development planners would include environment impact assessment and securing ECC from EMB. Tama po ba yun, Dr. Lim? Ayun, and also consultation with the grassroots community, including the indigenous people, because the indigenous people are the original community who are protecting the environment in the very old way practices. Okay, and also include the waste management system, kasi even though they do the other laws, but not, they just throw the tourism waste everywhere, may impact pa din sa biodiversity. Ayun, magkakaroon ng challenge ang conservation, battle of conservation and livelihood, but we already have successful ecotourism livelihood na may conservation, strong conservation practices. Ayun.
Thank you, Ms. Violet. So, dahil dun sa sinabi nyo, parang may hope, guys. Isa pa sa hindi ata nabanggit na yung Danugan Island. Yan. Magandang ecotourism, ano rin yan. Opo. Well, marami na tayo napapag-usapan, pero magsisegue muna tayo to a short break. And bago tayo mag-break, syempre, ito na naman tayo sa papaalalahanan ko ulit kayo sa ating pakulong Go Safe, Go Win dito sa GPSTV. Like, during this pandemic, aside from protecting the environment, we also have to protect ourselves. And remember that local fashion designers, we have guested in the previous episodes. Naalala niyo yun? Sila Mama Rene, na talagang aurahan ang ganap. Oh, patuloy pa rin tayo magbibigay ng very stylish designer PPEs and masks. And come and join our Go Safe, Go Win. Guess the word of the day. For our second clue, reveal yourself. Yan. Ayan na po. Makikita nyo. Comment down below your answers and get a chance to win a designer item for your next journeys. Don't forget to include the hashtags #GoSafe, GoTravel, and #GoSafe, GoWin. So dalawa yan. Together with your answers, we'll make the announcement tonight at 9 p.m. Pagbalik natin, let's ask our guests about the current situation of the ecotourism spots in the Philippines during this pandemic. Oh. GPSTV's Journeys will be right back.
First envisioned in 1978 as a group of national parks and nature reserves with outstanding wilderness and biodiversity values, the ASEAN Heritage Parks, or the AHP program, was established to highlight the importance of a select group of protected areas in regional and global efforts in biodiversity conservation. The AHPs were created through the ASEAN Declaration on Heritage Parks and Reserves in 1984, which named the first 11 protected areas listed under the AHP program. A new declaration on ASEAN Heritage Parks was issued in 2003, which recognized additional AHPs. ASEAN Heritage Parks are protected areas of high conservation importance, preserving a complete spectrum of representative ecosystems in the ASEAN region. These areas are established to generate greater awareness, pride, appreciation, enjoyment, and conservation of ASEAN's rich natural heritage through a regional network of representative protected areas, and to generate greater collaboration among ASEAN member states in preserving their shared natural heritage.
Can you imagine how proud the visitors of Singaporeans are when they come and learn that Sungai Buloh is a member of the ASEAN Heritage Park?
For a protected area to be an AHP, it has to meet a number of selection criteria which include ecological completeness, representativeness, naturalness, high conservation importance, legally gazetted conservation area, has an approved management plan, transboundary uniqueness, high ethnobiological significance, and importance for endangered or precious biodiversity.
Mountain Bigitan has been included in the network of ASEAN Heritage Parks of the ASEAN region, and it means that it's already part of the best protected areas in the ASEAN. To become an ASEAN Heritage Park, it has a lot also of benefits, while at the same time it has challenges to carry out in order to maintain the outstanding values.
The ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, or ACB, currently serves as the secretariat of the AHP program and the AHP committee, with representatives from the 10 AMS as members. The ASEAN Heritage Parks are the best of the best protected areas in the region, not only for its biodiversity richness, but also for the effective management of these areas as a result of cooperation and coordination among its stakeholders.
ရက်ရွာအနေနဲ့ကျတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကခုမှဘယ်လိုခေါ်မလဲဆိုတော့အချိန်ယူဆဲကာလလို့ပဲပြောရမှာပေါ့နော်ရက်ရွာကဒီပေါ်မှာတော့သူတို့နားလဲတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ထဲထဲဝင်ပူပေါင်းဖို့ကျတော့သူတို့မဖြစ်သေးဘူးပေါ့နော်သိပြီးတော့လိုက်ပြီးမချိန်နိုင်သေးဘူးဆိုတာတိတော့တိနေပြီတိနေပေမဲ့ဒါကိုသူတို့ကပြန်ပြီးတော့တန်းတနေတော့မရှိသေးတယ်
The existence of AHPs gives us hope that by working together, we can ensure that our natural treasures will be sustained for the generations to come.
Mabuhay! Welcome back. You're still with me, Aya Fernandez, ang inyong online travel buddy. Let's continue the conversation with our fashionable online buddies. Pero ngayon naman, we have our nature travel buddies. But before we proceed, since I've mentioned fashionable online buddies here on GPS TV's Journeys, we want to prepare you to go safe and go travel in style, diba? Just continue commenting down below your answers with the hashtags, hashtag go safe, go travel, and hashtag go safe, go win. Sino kaya ang susunod na mananalo sa ating go safe, go win? Diba? Guess the word of the day. Yan. At makakakuha ng designer PPE or mask. Yan. Ang ganda kaya mag-travel sa, let's say, sa Masumi, forest ng naka-designer PPE pa. Bongga! Okay, anyway, let's proceed to our conversation. Kanina, we've tackled the suggested guidelines. Yung mga dapat, yung norm. Kung di pa man nagagawa pa sa mga LGUs, let's say meron tayong viewer na LGU leader or stakeholder leader siya in ecotourism, sana nakatulong sa inyo yung mga nabanggit dito sa ating discussion. Now, how are ecotourism and biodiversity conservation affected by the COVID-19 pandemic? Let's start siguro with Sir Gab.
Yeah, actually, you know, I just came back from Mount Tiglit Bacol last week, and it really affected a lot of the park rangers, the Tamara rangers. So they're facing a lot of unemployment because of the budget cuts, where no tourists, no hikers would go visit Mount Tiglit Bacol. And, you know, you can really see the impacts of them. Luckily, there are some organizations like UNDP who's supporting and fundraising, creating initiatives just to support the rangers. But it's really a big trouble because some of these rangers, you know, have been working here for years, some 13, some to 30 years, and out of nowhere, they have to be slashed out of the whole conservation program because of the budget cuts. But at least it's hopeful that there are a lot of people who are working together.
Pero you mentioned, diba, na bawasan yung Tamaraw Rangers. Pero hindi naman nababawasan yung mga Tamaraws. Paano yun? Was the maintenance affected? How was it affected?
Yeah, actually, also, there were recent poaching incidents that happened in August. Though there were 2 poaching incidents. And it's difficult because you don't have a lot of Tamaraw Rangers on patrol, you know, because they're not being paid, or there's some restrictions, travel restrictions. The lockdowns have allowed made some places inaccessible for the rangers to go, because it's a really big site, and it's at 106,000 hectares of land, and you have to traverse from one municipality to another. So when the Tamaraw Rangers can't efficiently do that, sometimes it upholds the whole programming and the patrolling schedule that was set before the pandemic. So they really had trouble, and sadly, yeah, the 2 Tamaraws were poached in August.
Right. Now, did the place, the leaders in the place mention how we can help, or what can be done to aid the recovery of the site? Like, let's say, yeah.
Right now, actually, the Tamaraw Conservation Program really partnered with a lot of international organizations and local organizations, so that the salary of the yearly salary of the Tamaraws would be compensated. And so now, actually, not one ranger, not one warden would be cut out of the team because of the whole. We reached the target of $22,000, so that's about 1.15 million pesos. So it's really great that there's a lot of relief na makatrabaho ulit yung mga Tamaraw Rangers. But you know, the pandemic isn't over. I think that's one thing to always consider, and it's still difficult to go around different municipalities.
Thank you, Sir Gab. Miss Violet, Kamusta po yung mga ecotourism sites natin ngayong pandemya?
Last March, so everything shut down. The whole tourism industry shut down. So the tourism industry lost, I think, 100% job.
Yes.
Okay, but ang kagandahan sa ecotourism site sa rural area, they have the farm, they have the ocean. Actually, ecotourism used to be a supplementary livelihood lang. Then naging mainstream siya. At least right now, nagkaroon siya na everybody, all the guides, most of the people in the ecotour site went back to farming. Sa Mount Pulag, all the guides went back to farming or they nag-innovate sila ng businesses nila. Ayun.
That's good to hear.
Yes, kagandahan din sa biodiversity, naka-recover din, nakapagpahinga, naka-recover. So, dumami uli yung mga species, gano'n. But now, open na ang Biak na Bato, open na siya. Tapos, ang mga mangrove protected area, continuous pa din ang tree planting with the support of DNR. Hindi natigil yung budget. They're giving a bigger space to plant trees and guided. Binabantayan lang namin for them is to plant the right species at the right time, right high tide, low tide. Ayun. But still, continuous ang trabaho on the conservation part.
Wow. That's good to hear.
Yung farm, also, dumami yung workers sa farm. So, that is also to secure the supply of the food na binababa nila sa Manila.
Yeah. Mabuti naman po. Although of course, we do not celebrate the loss, di ba? But it is good to hear na you mentioned na naka-recover yung biodiversity, nakahanap ng ibang opportunities yung iba nating workers. Now, Ms. Violet, what can be done to aid the recovery ng mga sites na na-mention ninyo? Ano po yung pwedeng puntahan ng website or page ng ating viewers para makadagdag po ng tulong or maybe to share something, ganon?
Right now, we're promoting Biak na Bato. Sila pa lang yung nag-declare na open. The rest are into farming. Mount Pulag went back to farming also. We are still waiting for the LGU to give a go signal, safety go signal that they are ready to accept responsible tourist only. Earlier, nag-discuss ng tourism recovery. So, part ng i-accept na turista are the high-value tourists. So, very few people practicing the capacity building. Yun lang ang tatanggapin na turista. So, as
when you say high-value tourist, ano po ibig sabihin?
Those who will respect strictly the law of the community. Hindi pwedeng mass tourism like in one van full pa sila. That's no, papauwiin sila uli. Yun. So those who understand the law, follows the law. Because some Facebook mountaineers don't follow the biodiversity conservation law. Ayun.
Bato-bato sa...
Sorry, but they
matamaan, huwag magalit. Ayan, sa ating viewers.
Opo, sorry po, but they climb with high impact sa mga mountains, tapos mass tourism pa. Kaya nga, the good part of this lockdown...
Ms. Violet, sorry, for the benefit of our viewers, what do you mean by high impact?
High impact, very dangerous. Malaki yung naiiwan nilang foot trails. High ang carbon footprints nila. Marami silang trash. Ayun, malalalim yung nakikreate nila. Tapos hindi sila wala silang help sa local community. They do not respect the culture. They do not respect the community. Ayun yung mga high impact, high negative impact. Ayun. Ganon. So right now, nagkaroon ng innovation because of lockdown, nagkaroon ng innovation to accept only responsible tourists, to implement low carbon footprint tourism practices as much as possible. And also, yung example, hindi nagagamit ng mga plastic bottles, dapat you have your own bottles, ayun. You have your own bottle, ganon. Lahat ng turista. Plus, somebody who really have mutual respect to the local community. Very important yun, especially sa mga indigenous people.
Yes.
Saka sa coastal. There.
Thank you po, Ms. Violet, for mentioning that. Sa ating mga viewers, hindi naman po kami nagagalit. Siguro, this is a learning experience. At kapag inulit nyo ulit, isa kayo dun sa mga nabanggit ni Ms. Violet, dun na kami magagalit. Ayan. Sa ngayon, siguro nabibilaukan lang kayo sa aming discussion dito. Kasi kung nalaman yung kayo pala yun, yung nakita ni Ms. Violet. Thank you po, Ms. Violet. Dr. Teresa, from your experience and expertise, how are ecotourism and biodiversity conservation affected by the COVID-19 pandemic?
Oh, first pala, let me refer to the comment earlier by Violet on ECC, on EIA. She's correct that when you do establish facilities or infrastructure, you need to undergo EIA first. But what we are promoting is biodiversity focused EIA.
Sorry, for the benefit of our viewers, ano po yung EIA, Doc?
Environmental Impact Assessment. Yeah. Yes, Violet mentioned that, and I agree with her, except that, there has to be a little more emphasis on the biological impacts as well, not just on the physico-chemical impacts. So anyway, on the impacts of COVID on tourism and biodiversity, actually we did a study around June on some of the ASEAN heritage parks. As I mentioned, 80% of AHPs are ecotourism areas. And in the study, actually the report of GAB already is mirrored across the Southeast Asia. There was a loss of income, definitely because of, more than 70% of those sites had to close down from tourists. So there was a loss of income. And then it was also because, not just because it closed down, there was because of limited mobility as well for the rangers. Some of the rangers could not reach the site where they're supposed to patrol, and so there was a reduction of the capacity to enforce. And then, however, there was also in June, in the survey, the park said that they were not, the number of wildlife or the poaching has not have not been affected by the lack of forest rangers. That's in June, no?
Okay.
When the study, and it was because the reason that we were able to find out is because the local communities, the indigenous communities, were able to step up to take over in the patrolling. So they became the frontliners when it came to patrolling. So the ones that had to travel, the rangers who had to travel to the protected area could not do patrolling themselves, but the communities were able to step up and take over. And there was an example from Indonesia that was able to do that. So that was in June. Unfortunately, Gab was saying by August, in the case of Mount Iglit Baco, poaching has started, and I think that also has to be taken into account, because it cannot be in the long term. Eventually revenue has to come in, so that the local communities, in as much as they're stepping up to guard the protected area, they should be included in government national stimulus programs. Well, so that just to just to fill in the gap, that while there is no revenue from tourism, or there's limited revenue from tourism, we need to somehow provide alternative livelihoods, alternative stimulus to these communities, so that they continue, to help us. We consider them as frontliners as well, because they're protecting exactly the attraction and the environment, the ecosystem services that is being provided by our natural parks, including the aesthetic value from tourism.
Thank you, Dr. Teresa. All throughout our conversation, you've been hinting on how to be a responsible traveler. But allow me to ask you again specifically, how can one be a responsible and culturally sensitive traveler during this pandemic when visiting, let's say, an exotic destination? Like, how can we help conserve endangered species when going on these trips? Siguro, start tayo kay Miss Violet.
Right now, DOT launches the digital reservation, digital booking, everything, all the reservation done online, because without reservation, you cannot enter a destination.
Bawal walk-in.
Yes, bawal walk-in. Pero baka, may mga ninja travelers, pero wag naman sana. Respeto, kaya nga responsible, di ba?
So yung galit pa po pag sinita. Yan, tatamaan pa natin sila. Sige po, and then yes, Miss Violet.
Yes. May guidelines in every community, in every LGU, there are guidelines before you go there. A responsible tourist already do the research before leaving their place of origin. Now, to advise those who really want to travel, please follow the DOT guidelines, follow LGU guidelines, follow safety guidelines, reservation, travelers, hygiene, all the protocols, so you can get in and out without contaminating the local community and get back to your place healthy. And a better tourist, yes, because responsible tourists will always learn something from the community and will also leave a very valuable wisdom to the community there. Yes, ma'am.
Miss Violet, ano po yung dapat isipin to be a culturally sensitive traveler? What is one thing to keep in mind?
Be like water. You adapt. Parang maghuhulma ka sa isang vase. You shape yourself to be like them. Although, most of the territorial community don't easily acknowledge that. But try your best to be really respectful. Number one, very, very respectful and passive. Pag medyo arrogant ang traveler, promise, dededmahin nila kayo ng mga local communities. It will not work. High respect. Ayun, high respect to the local community, to the sensitivity. What you wear is very important also. So, no shorty-shorty. May time sa El Nido. El Nido na yun na pinagbawalan kami mag-bikinis. O, di ba? Anyway, that was before. Ayun, just really respect na you're not in your own place, but you have to adapt to the people there.
Thank you, Miss Violet. How about you, Sir Gab? How can one... Yeah.
I think the most responsible thing to do now during the pandemic as a traveler is to not travel at all, knowing the pandemic. But I mean, yeah, if it's not necessary, if it's not really important, I don't know how you can gauge it. But yeah, you have to do your research in knowing the LGU guidelines, the travel permits, the health protocols, the PPEs required. Because really, it's true that some places, tourist sites, have to earn. Yeah, they have to get revenue from tourists, from people. But yeah, if you really want to practice responsible ecotourism, I think really is really about knowing that you're just visiting another place that's not yours. And, you know, I think it's common Filipino trait, diba, when we visit other people, when we visit our friend's house or when we visit another person's house, we're so, demure, we're so, respectful to the parents. And why can't it be the same when we travel to different communities, to these different sites, right? Na we practice the same kind of mindset when treating the place, leave no trace principles, keeping the leave no trace principles, and just be a human being that respects another person's house, another person's place. I think that's really the mindset that we have to keep, being open-minded, not being arrogant, like taking nothing with you to the certain place, and just being open to all the experiences, open to all the stories, the communities, and being open to helping others when they're in need in that place.
Thank you, Sir Gab. How about you, Doc Teresa?
I like Violet's suggestion earlier on research. No, I think responsible traveler should be able to do the research, do her or his research on the area before he or she visits, so she can understand better the place, what are the requirements. Gab also mentioned health protocols. No? Right now, there are various areas that are now requiring, you have a swab test first before you go there, and the responsible traveler should be able to do this, no, to be honest and to comply with the safety requirements. And then, of course, if you really need to go to nature, which is actually, some of the areas in Southeast Asia, they're already opening up. The Philippines lang medyo restricted pa tayo, but in some ASEAN countries, we can learn from what they are already doing. They're starting to open up their tourism, and it's also important to keep your distance, not just from people but from wildlife as well. So you watch but do not touch. Try to it's better if you're going to a place, do birding, but don't try to catch the bird. If somebody is promoting, handling a snake, for example, and showing it off to you, don't patronize it. Or there's earlier, they said some communities are trying to sell wild collected, souvenirs, and this is not also, if you're a responsible traveler, you don't patronize that, so that in the future, you can always come back and experience the same awe as when you went there the first time.
Yeah, true. Thank you so much, Dr. Teresa. And it will always boil down to the essence of GPSTV, diba? We are here to recover the more than 40 million Filipino people na nawalan ng trabaho from the tourism industry because of the pandemic. But as we hit the restart button, we do it the right way. And kayo yung mga na-discuss natin dito na sana tumatak sa inyong ating mga viewers. At kung gaano kayo kasipag mag-research tungkol sa inyong mga crush, sana ganun din kayo kasipag mag-research tungkol sa mga pupuntahan yung mga lugar, tungkol sa ecotourism at sa turismo ng bansa natin pangkalahatan. Now, before I let you go, our dear guests, is it okay? Lagi po namin ginagawa yung GPS move na tinatawag namin dito. Simple lang po to, promise. You can unmute. So, madali lang yan. When I say dito sa GPS TV, from our nature lover guests, we remind you to hashtag go safe,
Go safe.
Travel,
Go travel.
Go Philippines,
Go Philippines.
Soar high.
Soar high.
Soar high.
Soar high.
Yeah, wag niyo akong tawanan. Sabayan niyo ako. Here on GPS TV, we all encourage you to Hashtag
Hashtag
go safe, go travel, and go Philippines. Soar high. Thank you so much. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. Miss Violet, Sir Gab, and Dr. Teresa. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your time. For your voice, and mabuhay po kayo. Guys, sama-sama tayo, supportahan natin sila ha. Tulong-tulong tayo, para sa ekonomiya, di ba? Sabi nga nila. And I'd like to remind you again about our Go Safe, Go Win contest and win a designer PPE and mask from our amazing group of designers from our previous episode. All in nyo na yan, guys. May ilang minutes pa bago ako exit. At please see our last clue below. Yan, alam niyo na ba ang sagot? Ayan. I-comment nyo na yan down sa ating comment sections and and don't forget to include the hashtags #Go Safe, Go Travel and #Go Safe, Go Win in your comments. We will make the announcement later at 9 p.m. So again, daghang salamat sa ating guests. Ako mismo, kinikilabutan ako. Seryoso, habang nag-uusap tayo kasi malayo na yung narating natin, di ba, sa Pilipinas for ecotourism. Pero marami pa tayong pwede pang i-push, di ba? And hindi itong mangyayari kung wala kayo. Kayo, our experts, our leaders, at kayo, lalong-lalo na mga ating viewers. So thank you so much to everyone who joined in on the conversation. That was a truly value-adding experience for us here and sa inyo, dyan, sa nanonood sa Facebook and YouTube. Hindi nyo yun matututunan sa classroom, di ba? And thank you also for Hotel Sales and Marketing Association or HSMA, the Department of Tourism, and the Tourism Promotions Board for making this show possible. And sana talaga guys, marami kayo natutunan at nalaman tungkol sa safe and mindful traveling sa ating episode ngayong araw. Always plan your trips. Please research yan. Nakakaganda at nakakagwapo ang nag-research ngayon. Consider the health situation of your family, your resources, and the location you're going to. Siyempre, on top of strict medical protocols yan so that everyone can safely enjoy, including the rest of the people around you. Talagang may papakita natin ang bayanihan sa pamamagitan ng pagiging mapagmatsyag na manlalakbay. Huwag kang maging turista sa sarili mong bayan, di ba? Always remember that for everyone to enjoy a worry-free travel experience. We first have to go safe before we go travel. Kaya #Go Safe, Go Travel. Safety before traveling. Until the next fight, this has been your online travel buddy, Aya Fernandez. Watch out for more episodes and see you again only here on GPSTV. Go Philippines! Soar high! Mabuhay po sa lahat!